What's up, you guys? Welcome to this episode of Crystal Clear. We have a returning guest on, actually from this season, Miss Jen Smith, or Jennifer Smith of Jen Smith & Co. Leadership development, consulting. I mean, I like to think of you as just an overall empowerment coach that helps people build things from the inside out and see where they go from there. And our last episode, went a little crazy. So it's great to have you back. We hit on a lot of different in-depth, inward, personal topics. And I think both of us had a lot of people reaching out, especially ladies, with permission to own their truth.
Yes. A lot of people reaching out.
A lot of people. So I would love to just build on that today and see where it takes us. There's a million things that we could talk about, but I think that the importance of, last time our topic was essentially owning your shit, which we exposed a lot of ours. And guess what? We got a great response from that.
Totally.
Because what do people want? They want that authentic conversation, an authentic, it is what it is. What are you going to do about it?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, we've all gone through life and experiences and things that have shaped us and molded us and conditioned us. And we've had to take a step back and take a pause and reevaluate. But a lot of people have yet to take that pause and reevaluate and really ask themselves, what do I want? And how did I get here? So I'd love for us to just start there.
I love
Let's
that.
dive in.
I love that. Hello, everybody.
And
I do want to acknowledge all of the women who reached out to me, to Crystal, from our last episode. And I see you, and I had a lot of conversations with a lot of people, and it was really wonderful. And there were some tears, there were some irritations, there was some anger. But some of those episodes, it rocked a few people.
Including us. I think we both had some time to process.
Yeah. I remember calling you going, holy shit.
It's out there.
It's out there. I needed a minute to decompress from that and all of the things. And, just so everybody knows, that still was a learning moment for me. It was a very raw moment, and thank you for holding space for that.
100%.
It was real. Shit got real.
Yeah. Shit got real.
So to that,
as it does when Jen and I are together.
So, okay, here we go. I have something to say.
What's
I'm
that?
48 years old, and I just recently got drugged.
Okay.
Yeah. So I don't want to, it's not a hard and heavy thing, although it did hit me like a ton of bricks once I realized what had happened. But I was in a business setting in a location that we had many business meetings and getting something fixed. And I was slipped some drugs into my drink and just barely made it home.
What kind of drugs? Like roofies?
Yeah.
Those still exist?
I know. I didn't even realize that was still a thing. It was a check moment in my life.
Because it's not a setting you would have we're not cover your drink when you leave the bar and don't accept a drink from another person stage of life at Florida State anymore.
You think?
What the?
Yeah, what the what? Yep. So I'm just going to I don't really even know what I want to say about it other than the fact that there are still people that are out there, even in a professional setting. And I actually didn't file a report until just recently. And the only reason that I did is because somebody said, what if that was your daughter?
1,000%.
And then I'm like, oh my God, what if that was my daughter? And it's all that's going to happen now is that if anything ever happens again with this particular person, it's on file. And maybe I can be the one that just stands up and says, yes, I'll do the hard things. But, at this stage of my life, it really did rock me. And I actually had to have a couple of conversations with a few friends of mine. And I had to ask them, hey, what do you think this is? Like men in my life, every single one, you were drugged, you were drugged, you were drugged, because I was almost denying it. No.
Well, because we don't want to believe something that would happen with someone that we're interacting in a professional setting with.
Right.
Like we said, it's not your typical situation.
No. And this particular place was not a place that I would ever imagine that something like that would happen.
And you're 100% that it was the person you're engaged with, not like the bartender?
No, we were sitting at a tall top table. There were only two of us.
That is great.
Anyway,
well, first of all, I'm sorry that happened to you. But again, like, it's a wake-up call for something.
It's a big wake-up call for something. And I honestly am still processing it. I am still processing it. I was shell-shocked. I was really shocked. And a lot of emotion came up with it. However, I guess one of the questions that came up was, well, what are you going to do about it? And I love that question because, well, I'm not going to get into that, but what are you going to do about it?
Right.
This is such a yummy question from the last time you and I spoke, when different things in life and different situations come up. I ask my clients now with certain situations and certain scenarios, what are you going to do about it?
Right.
This came up. This happened. I'm feeling this way. This emotion is processing. And what are you going to do about it?
Right.
And one of the topics that I love getting into the most is to owning your shit is, where are you going? Where are you in life? What are you doing? What's your next step? Not letting where you were define where you're going. And what are you going to do about it?
Right. Because I mean, as influential as you are of a business coach and a leadership, cultivator and creator, you have a lot of one-on-one business meetings with men.
A lot.
And you've now shared, previous episode and this one, two pretty effing traumatic situations that could have 100% caused you to pump the brakes and shift into a totally different direction. So what are you going to do about it?
I'm going to keep going.
Right.
I'm not going to let it affect me.
Right.
It affected me emotionally and I worked through it. But I worked through it as soon as I figured out what was going on.
And you took responsibility for your part and paid it forward to get it on file just in case, something like this happens again.
And I will not let it derail what I'm doing in business or in life. I'm not going to let it deter me from having business meetings with people. I'm not going to let it deter me.
Might take my drink to the bathroom.
Yeah. Well, you know what? The funniest thing is I didn't order a drink.
Oh.
I said I was all done drinking.
Oh.
And then there was one there waiting for me when I got back.
Oh.
So I'm not going to drink that drink.
That's boundary number one.
Hello.
Has crossed. Okay. Yeah. So this is, I'm feeling called to talk about this because there's so many sweet, beautiful, vulnerable women, ladies, and even men out there that would appreciate, oh my God, they took it upon themselves to get me a drink when I said I was all done. You said you were all done, and they did it anyway. That, my friend, is what?
Fucked.
It's not respecting your boundaries.
Yeah.
It's crossing the line.
Yeah, it's crossing
and
a
so
line.
then you have to ask yourself, or what I would ask myself is, what is the intention behind that? Are you pushing your own shit onto me? Are you in this for my best interest because I said I was done? Or is there some ulterior motive? Like what is the intention behind that? And this doesn't have to be a drink situation like we're talking about. This goes for a lot of things in life. Like I'm all done with this conversation and people keep going. Or, I need my space and people keep pushing. I need some fresh air, people following out. I mean, this goes into a whole wormhole of how many times, and this is a question I want everyone to reflect on right now. How many times in your life have you tried to set a boundary and someone has disrespected it?
Mm-hmm. It's a great question.
Then ask yourself, because I feel like it's happened to me in my own life. Sometimes it's the people that I feel either know I'm serious or like just, we have to, the way I like to think of it is you have to realize when people are crossing boundaries like that, I think it's either conscious or subconscious. Like I don't know, like, are they intentionally doing it
Mm-hmm.
or are they doing it out of their own trauma and unconsciousness in that moment of not being fully aware and fully present in the moment and being like, oh, wow, they're serious. But that's their own history, right?
Right.
Like, so
Right.
they're probably not used to boundaries, which
Mm-hmm.
I think, we're just now getting to a generation that's giving each other permission to set them and follow
Very
them.
clear ones. Yeah.
So, yeah, boundaries are a big deal.
They're huge.
And what do we do in situations when people cross them? Like, what is it? How can we keep our strength, our inner knowing, our safety, our security, knowing our boundaries have been crossed? We did not come prepared for this conversation. We didn't premeditate. This is just coming up and coming out because it's just coming up and coming out. So bear with us while we talk through this.
Yes.
This is a spot on. Like I have responded and even very much reacted in many different ways because I'll tell you what, an easy way to put me in fight or flight is cross my boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
Or gaslight me when I feel like I've set a boundary and gaslighting happens, which is, flipping it back around to you. Like, you need mental health, you need this, you need that. It's like, oh, I told you what I needed and you're now telling me what I need. Like, I thought I thought I set a boundary.
Right.
So I think that's where that people get confused as to what they really are.
Mm-hmm.
And why is it okay? And you hear about this a lot, I think, in, Sarasota community and other communities out there is the grooming, like we're grooming.
Mm-hmm.
And, people, if you don't know any better, you think someone's being genuine or they're being kind, but it's really just like breaking down your boundaries.
I mean, if you take that one particular scenario, everything that you just said is wrapped into that one experience. And whenever I said, and I drank the drink, which is the reason that I was drugged, and I had 2 or 3 sips of it, and I drank it, and I started to not feel very good. And I have just enough street smarts in me to know that it was time for me to go home, and I just needed to get myself home. I didn't know what I was feeling, but right there, I said no.
Right.
I don't want anything else to drink. Why did I drink the drink?
So how have you processed through that?
I have asked myself that question. Why did you drink the drink? Well, number one, I like whiskey. Right. So I drank the drink because I was like, okay, fine, I'll just have a couple of more drinks. But if I let it go deeper, which I have a choice, I can let that go deep and I can get hung up right there. Or I can just cut it off at that I just wanted to drink the drink.
Right.
And then when I started to feel bad, but to your point, there's a lot wrapped in that. It's like I could have said, no, thank you, which now moving forward, when that happens or if that ever happens again, I will 100% say no, thank you. And I will not take something that I have not asked for, especially from someone that I don't really know.
Right.
Which is unfortunate because there are a lot of business colleagues that I have, and there are a lot of opportunities to have a lot of different business meetings. And it has made me a lot more cautious and aware. The second one is when I got to my truck, this person was behind me. And I'm not going to say the entire conversation, but it was some form of, you need to back up because I'm leaving. And I've already said that I'm okay. Now I need you to back up. Get away from me and just back up.
Like, what the fuck was the plan? Right. Well, they just going to throw you in their vehicle and bring you back to your car the next day? Like, I don't get that.
I don't
like,
either.
Never understood it. But like, what is the plan here?
Right. I mean, maybe somebody else can allude to that, but what do? You just
Right.
I wake up in a strange like say I didn't get into my vehicle and then I go with this person and then I wake up in a strange home. What am I going to say to you?
Right.
Who am I going to call? Am I going to go, oh,
or are you even going to fucking wake up?
Right.
Like, we don't know who this person is.
No, I know.
And that is the scary thing. And I think if anything, like we need to be, and not like paranoid, but be aware of your situation, your surroundings. Always. And this obviously has come into your life to bring awareness. You know, like thank goodness you got home and it's not like you live downtown. So I'm glad. I'm glad you made it. You can always call me, by the way.
I wish I would have called you because I woke up face down on my lanai.
Oh my God.
11 hours later. I didn't make it in my house.
Oh my God.
But I did make it to my house.
That is terrifying.
It is terrifying. And this was just recent. At this age, I feel pretty good and feel pretty confident about my surroundings and where I go.
And you're a
I pay attention.
Woman too.
Yes.
Like I would feel like you give off more masculine energy in a situation like that than you do like, oh, I'm a little vulnerable female.
No,
that's
total.
not you. Like if you know Jen, you know.
No.
Like she's especially in a business meeting. Like she's not gonna come in like
I didn't come in doing this.
Like no, she's not flipping her hair.
No.
So, first of all, that's ballsy as shit.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. So the awareness part is totally focus all the time on what you're doing. Never lose sight of why you are where you are.
Right.
So I went there for a business meeting and that is what I needed to focus on. And yeah, I like to have an old fashioned, every now and then if I'm at a business meeting or something. But anyway, I think it was the awareness factor for me because I am traveling internationally. I'm traveling in different states. And it was just a check. It was a check and balance to say, hey, wake up. You didn't want to play small. This is what you asked for. Now we've got you here. Stop. Stop screwing around.
Right.
I don't want to play small. And I don't also want to be taken I don't want to be seen in a different light when I come to the table at these meetings. It's already challenging enough for women to have these very strong and powerful positions. I feel like I was mixing the sand too much.
Well, if anything, it taught you not to do that.
Right.
So, so now you have a, better business plan going forward. We have reevaluated our ethics session.
We have. But I think the biggest is just knowing where you're going and what you're doing.
Right.
And then when you get there, what are you going to do? And why?
Right.
Did you come to play house? Did you come to show up and make moves?
Right.
And I came to show up and make moves. So there's no more of that.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Good for you. And thanks for sharing again, sharing another vulnerable situation, real life event that is going to plant the seed and bring awareness to our listeners. And that's what we need because you know what? I guarantee you there's someone listening that's had a similar situation. Maybe it's not that extreme or maybe they didn't make it home. And that's the intention and the why behind all of this is to plant the seeds, to bring the awareness. Not to, dwell on it and over analyze and all the other things, but just to have that awareness. Where are you going? What are you doing? And why?
And not to let things that have happened define you.
100%.
Not let them define who you are and who you're going to be moving forward. Process them. Get real with them like we talked about the last time. Own them. And just step outside of that circle of this is what happened, but this is not who I am. This is not who I have to be moving forward.
Right. And coming back to yourself, I think is huge. Like, when something does happen, whether it's small or large, whether it's positive or negative, if we're judging it positive or negative. Sometimes I think that we go about our lives like seeking like, we say we're not judging, but it's like, but we're all constantly judging. Is it positive? Is it negative? Like, why does it have to be either? Why can't it just be what it is?
Right.
And so my husband and I have these conversations all the time. It's like, people say good morning. It's like, well, maybe I haven't had a good morning. Like, why are you trying to force your good shit on me? Like, maybe I'm just having a morning. Like, morning. So that's why I'm always like, hello, morning, sunshine. I didn't even realize I said it that way. But it's like, it's interesting that we live in a society that we're always, and it's totally, I think, subconscious. We want to be on the side of the positive spectrum. We don't want to be on the negative side of the spectrum. But really, to be in that neutral zone is kind of where it's at.
Mm-hmm.
That's where the peace, that's where the acceptance, that's where the like, okay, I'm here, I'm showing up, I'm doing my thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we're not always going to get the accolades and the certificates and all the things, but it's what really, I think, forces you to connect to your why is when we can disconnect from the external validation.
Totally. I had somebody the other day, the comment, is it work in silence, play? There's like a 3-line little thing that says, build things in silence. Not everything always has to be out in the world. It doesn't always have to be public. To your point, you can be in this neutral space where you're doing things and you're processing things. I had somebody ask me the other day, I had no idea that you were doing any kind of project management or like development and things like that. Why did I not know that? I'm like, it's been 3 years. And he said, well, why didn't I know that? And I'm like, do I have to put something on the back of my head every single day that says, this is what I'm doing and this is what I'm working on. This is what I'm processing. This is what I'm feeling.
That's right. You didn't know because I'm working on it.
I'm working
I'm doing it.
Yeah.
Like, I'm immersed in it
Yeah.
instead of seeking validation and putting it out there.
Right.
Like, we're so conditioned these days to share all our shit, everything. And look, can we just stop for a minute? Like,
I don't need permission.
No.
I don't need a plan. I don't need your guidance. If I needed guidance, I'll ask for it.
Right.
But yeah, you're right.
And there's nothing wrong with sharing it.
There is not.
But I think the question goes with why? Why do you feel the need to project all the intimate scenarios of your life out to the world?
Anybody?
I want to know. I want people to comment. Why?
I do too.
Why are you doing that? And if you don't know why, take a minute to ponder it. And I've learned so much from what I share, what I don't share, what I'm doing, what I'm not doing, and realizing more that you get that external feedback, the more it clogs your inner knowing.
Right.
So when you're constantly taking in stimulus from the outside, it really inhibits your ability to feel from the inside because you're conditioned by what's coming in and you lose the authenticity of what's already there. And for me, that's been a huge self-awareness journey, huge discovery.
Yeah, getting comfortable in those silent moments and processing and thinking and feeling and not putting it all on.
Yeah. I mean, when you and I met, I was in the thick of the healing, the rewiring my brain, the rewiring my marriage, the reconnection to myself journey. And that was a good 2 to 3 year process. I didn't come out and start talking about it until a good 1.5 years after it was happening. I mean, some of it, obviously, it's all happening as we go, right? But when we met, when we connected, it was in a retreat setting where we were processing, we were digging deep, we were asking these types of questions. It was very much behind the scenes. And so that's because at that point I was seeking that. I was seeking like, I need to reevaluate. But the whole intention behind doing it now and sharing it is because there's people out there seeking it and they don't know where to grasp that from. Just like you talked about in the last episode, when you went through it all, you weren't putting it, like you had to dig deep. You went in, like you have to go inward to put things out.
It was years.
Yeah.
It was years, just like you. Nobody even knew that I had left.
Right.
my marriage and that we were working on, that we were even separated.
Right. And guess what? They're not supposed to.
No. There
Because
are
that's
some things,
intimate.
right? There are some intimate details that really just need to be kept at bay. They need to be kept at home. Now, that's not to say that you're not talking about it with your therapist and your
Oh, yeah. Or
coach
whatever. And maybe it's part of your processing that you do want to put some stuff out there. But just know that the more that's out there, the more that's out there. So that means the more energy that's connected, the more, you know, like perception there is around it. And you don't need any of that stuff when you're in the thick of it and you're truly trying to find yourself. No one else's, one of my favorite quotes, no one else's opinion of you matters. No
It's
one's.
none of your business.
It's none of your business. No one else, like everyone else's opinion of you is none of your business.
Yes.
And when I could really, truly accept and own that, it was like, oh, wow. And I still have to reel myself back in on it. You know, you still have to, it's constant reeling back in.
Yeah.
And, you know, you have teenagers.
Yes.
You've watched them go through the ebbs and flows of all of this. And it's so hard to be surrounded by, I think it's challenging for me. And it gives me great opportunity.
Good word.
to be surrounded by others seeking the external. Because I just want to be like, gosh, if you only knew what it feels like to go inside. But I approach it with you know what? I'm sending them love and light, and something will happen that will shift that. And it's happened to all of us, right? It had to happen for me and it had to happen for you. I'm sure it will continue to happen 50,000 more times in my lifetime on different topics and variations and whatever it may be. May not be as big of a life shift, but like small shifts. Like your experience you had earlier.
Yeah.
Or that you shared earlier.
Yeah. On a completely similar topic, but how about showing up? Like how we show up. How we show up. I had an example that I shared with you earlier about not being as prepared for a particular meeting that I needed to be. And it's interesting because I got called on it. Not outwardly, you know, the woman at the meeting didn't like call me on it, but she dropped some, you know, little innuendos. She asked me a couple of questions that I had to repeat myself, but I did not show up to this particular meeting the way that I needed to. And I'm getting all of these little universal messages, and I know what it is. It's a level up moment. I am having an opportunity to level up again. And in order for me to do that, I have got to get crystal clear on, that was not intentional either.
I know, I love it when it comes out though.
I have to get crystal clear on what it is that I want.
Right.
And this was a reminder today. Again, if you want to run with the big dogs, like prior planning, we have to show up. How do you want to show up? How do you want to show up in the world? How do you want to show up in love? How do you want to show up in marriage? How do you want to show up in business? How do you want to show up for your kids? How do you want spiritually, everything, physically, romantically?
Right.
How do you want to show up? And man, am I getting tested. I am literally getting tested.
But all of these tests are helping you figure that out.
Totally.
Because, you know, I think you and I are similar in the way that we're like, I'm showing up as me. I'm winging it. I'm free spirit. I'm showing up as me. What you get, and then it's like, oh, okay. I need a little bit more me in that one.
Yeah.
Well, because sometimes, and you know, I'm hearing what you're saying, and it's like sometimes you show up and it's like, well, that wasn't the best representation of what I could have been in that moment. And I know myself better. But then again, it goes back to what was this other person's expectation and why wasn't that more clearly expressed? Because I much rather show up as me than like that super over prepared kind of a little bit farther than something I really am. And then have the opportunity to be like, you know what? I wasn't quite prepared as much as, you know, I realize now going into this that I want to do a little bit more. So can we continue this conversation? Or can we, carry this out in a different way? Because I've reevaluated my approach a little bit and I want to revisit it.
Oh, yeah. The meeting was definitely saved.
Yeah.
For sure. And I was asked one question, put on the spot, and I said, that is a very good question. And I did not come prepared. However, if you give me about 30 seconds and let me dig in, I will have an answer for you. And the other woman did say, wow, that's bold. Take your 30 seconds. Like she wasn't expecting that. And I did. I just sat for just a minute. I went to use the restroom. I came back and I answered the question. But to your point, I had to have the backbone to dig that out and say, I just need 1 minute, but I'm going to get it together. And then, of course, I went outside and screamed in my truck when I went outside. And I'm like, ugh. I was really frustrated with myself, honestly.
Right.
But I did come in a little bit, not quite as businessy as I needed to. But I learned, and it was an opportunity, again, another opportunity to know where I was going, know what I wanted out of that situation. And this can be applied to everything. What do you want? What do you want?
Right.
We talked about that a little bit the last time.
Right. And how do you want to get there?
And how do you want to get there? And you don't always have to know exactly the plan of how you're going to get there, but you do have to know what you want.
Right.
Do you agree?
Yeah, 100%. And I think what you just explained to me, you gave the ladies in the room permission to take a minute. Like you still showed up as you because you're like, I need a minute. You could have bullshit your way through whatever they asked you, but it wouldn't have been heartfelt, intentional conversation if it just impulsively came out of your mouth. You took a minute, you evaluated, you screamed, you did whatever the hell you needed to do to bring your real self back with the answer. And that is what we're talking about. Yes. Giving yourself a minute, or even just being like, you know what? I'm not even prepared for this today. Can we reschedule?
Yeah.
Like, what is the harm in that? And I think that people would be like, oh, I mean, it's ballsy. Other than like, oh my God, thank you for this opportunity. It's like, you know what?
No,
I didn't show up the way I wanted to show up today. I'd love to do another lunch, or I'd love to do, it doesn't even be this situation. This is anything in life. This is any conversation, even conversations you have with yourself. Sometimes we're not prepared for the way we're answering, or are we answering from a place of condition and impulse? Or are we answering and responding from a place of compassion and authenticity?
Oh, I like that. Relationships is a good one for that.
100%.
I mean, how many times have you been in a conversation and said, we have to stop. Wait a minute. We need to stop. We need to regroup. Or the complete polar opposite. You don't say that.
And it keeps escalating and things get said. And we just had a situation not long ago about that. But guess what? When we came back around and we owned our stuff.
Yeah.
And we had the intentional conversation of, in that moment, I wasn't my best self, but I heard you and I'm going to show up differently. That is where the true connection comes in. Whether it's your relationship with your partner or your children or yourself or your whoever it is in your life, like the ability to own it. Accountability for me is the avenue towards trust and respect. Like it's really hard for me to trust and respect when the accountability is not there. I think that's probably broad range for most people. But you might not even know what that looks like.
Right.
Like some of us aren't even surrounded by accountability, so we don't even know what it looks like. Sadly, I think we live in this society where like gaslighting is normal and flipping the switch and, well, what about you? And it's like, well, we weren't talking about, you know what I mean? Like in that type of, I feel like those types of conversations are brushed under the rug. We talked about this before. But having that ownership of I wasn't actively listening. I was responding to you impulsively in that moment. I
Mhm.
wasn't listening. I wasn't hearing. There's a difference in listening. There's a difference in hearing
Mhm.
what someone's saying.
Mhm. Reacting and responding too.
Yes, exactly.
Mhm.
And even to ourselves.
Mhm.
You know, when it gets into the self-sabotage conversations we have with ourselves,
Oh
it's like,
god.
really? Like,
Yeah.
like you totally, if you had this meeting right before this, you could have totally been like, Crystal, I'm done. I'm not. You could have self-sabotaged yourself the rest of the day, giving yourself the run through of what you could have done differently, but you didn't.
No.
You showed up. You are
Mm-mm.
showing up with intention, with purpose, and you're sharing that to give people permission to do the same.
Yeah. It's not easy to be in those situations.
Oh God, no.
I mean, it really isn't, and it's nobody's fault but my own. It really is. That's owning my part of it. Is
Mhm.
this was set up for me to show up as my best self,
Mhm.
and I did not put the preparatory work in to show up as the person that I am working toward becoming.
Mhm.
That's the key, and that just came to me right now. Is that this is a next level opportunity for me, and I've been doing the necessary steps to get to this point,
Mhm.
and I didn't show up the way that Jennifer next year needed to show up today.
So how would she have shown up?
She would have had a complete presentation put together that could have been handed over to the person that I was meeting with.
Mhm.
Instead of the conversation piece, I would have had a full-on presentation put together
Mhm.
with all of the questions, honestly, that I knew were going to be asked. And I didn't have it. I was anticipating that the conversation would be enough,
Mhm.
and the level that I'm trying to achieve required me to go do that extra step,
Mhm.
and I didn't do it. I won't fucking do it again.
And there we go, friends. We're learning.
Yeah, I mean, it actually makes me hot thinking about it. It makes me angry. It makes me upset with myself. And to owning that, I could blame the person that set the meeting up. I could blame this person. I could blame other people. I could try to find blame
Mhm.
in the
Or
weather.
excuses as to
Right,
why you didn't and the
right.
time and all the
No,
things, but
no.
you're owning it.
I am owning it. And I know that if there's something that I want, I am going to have to put forth the effort
Mhm.
and the work in order to achieve it,
Right.
because nobody else is doing it, because nobody else wants it.
Right.
I want it.
Right.
I mean, other people do want it, but I'm going to get it. So,
Right. Love it.
which is a really fun topic. You know, it's such a, I talk about this with my clients all the time is we talked about this the last time, is that one question of what do you want in anything? Like, what do you want?
Mhm.
And I challenge people and invite people to write that down today
Right. In
and
different categories.
in different
Because
categories.
it's like, what do you want relationally? What
Mhm.
do you want inward, like emotionally? What do
Mhm.
you want physically? What do you want tangibly?
Sexually,
Yes, all the things.
spiritually,
Yes.
parentally.
And
Is
what
that a word?
step? Parental, I think so.
Parental.
Parentalish. um, so, and it's a fun exercise. Actually, I have a ladies retreat coming up on Thursday. I might do this. It's like a soul retrieval
Yeah.
retreat, but and making that list and just keeping in mind every day. Are you doing one little thing? And maybe you don't cover it all in one day,
Mhm.
but ideally you would.
Mhm.
Like if it's relational, like are you having the appropriate conversations and giving the appropriate attention to what needs attention?
Mhm.
You know, parental, are you giving that intentional time? Are you allowing yourself to be, okay, this is a big one we're all going to resonate with. Are you allowing yourself to be open to receive?
Ding ding ding.
That's a big one
It is a big one.
because we can want
Mhm.
all day long, but if we have a block in here
Mhm.
that's preventing us from receiving what it is that we really need and want, we're our own worst enemy. And so getting to the place or the person or the coach or the therapy or the workout or whatever it is that's fueling what you want, but also keeping in mind you have to stay open to receive it, because that, I think, was my biggest obstacle throughout a lot of things in life. Is I was going and I was driven and I was doing all these things, but I was still so wound tight from being the strong one and not allowing myself to get in this nitty-gritty, dirty, vulnerable place to be open to receive what I truly needed from myself and from others. I was in my own way.
Yeah.
And that's huge because
is
most
huge.
of us are.
Yeah.
Even like, an easy thing is like mom guilt. Okay, we all say, "Oh, yeah." But like, are you willing to allow yourself to go out of town and truly be out of town knowing your kids are safe and sound and taken care of? Or are you going to guilt trip yourself the whole time you're there? Because if you're going to go and do that, don't even freaking go. Save your money. Like I
Yes, do
talked
save
to
your money.
Yes. Or whatever it is, like a girls trip or whatever it is you have going on. That's just an easy example. But why do we, because we all do it at times, put ourselves in situations where we're doing everything we feel like is right, except for allowing ourselves to be open to receive or even asking for help without the guilt. Like, are we asking for help? Asking for help is beneficial. We know that. But if you're not being open to receive the help, it's not going to work.
I've sabotaged so many things in my life prior to 8 years ago because I was not open to receive. One of them is love.
Right.
I was
Same.
not open to receive love.
Mm-hmm.
And I did a very beautiful dance around commitment and many, many different things to push that away because I didn't want to get hurt. And then one day I stepped on the wrong board and it split me in half. And I realized that I can learn and I can talk and I can go through the motions, but until I was ready and until I did the work to even understand how to be open to receive certain things, love in that instance, it was never going to work. I could learn everything. I could read all the books. I could listen to all the podcasts. I could go to all the retreats. But until I figured out the combination to unlock my own inside, it was like a cat chasing its tail.
Right.
Over
And that's,
and
I
over.
think, unfortunately, the way most of us work. That's what we're kind of conditioned to do because we don't know any better.
I agree with that.
I think that it's not intentional. No one's like intentionally like, well, maybe some people blocking out the world.
Yeah.
But or that person or this thing or this relationship or this goal or whatever it is we're seeking. There's a level of something there. So my question is, what is your something there? And is that in one avenue of your life or is that in multiple? And I think a lot of it comes down to that fear of rejection.
Oh, God.
Or fear in general.
Fear in general.
Fear
Yeah.
in general.
Yes, in general.
Like fear in general. What if?
Yeah.
But what if?
What if?
But what if? But what if it fucking works?
Yay!
Like, what if? What if you step into this next zone?
Right.
And everything's okay.
And everything's okay. Once I realized that I could be open to love, I've fallen in love.
Right.
I mean, I'm not actively in a relationship right now, but I have fallen in love.
Right.
I have felt what it feels like to be in love again. I can love again. And now I just want to love all the time. And if I have those feelings for somebody, I will say I love you to someone.
Right.
Without any expectation of what's going to come on the return.
Right.
That me saying that to this person or any person or to you or to whoever, that's because I'm open. I am open to bring it back, but I'm also very giving and I want love. And you know as well as I do, if you want it, you have to give it. And that reciprocal relationship starts to open up so many other pathways. I wrote down the word redefine. And that is what I have done so much since growing up in the South. is redefined.
We're from very similar backgrounds.
Yes, we are. And I wrote a book, and the manuscript has been sitting on my bookshelf for about 2 years because I didn't like the way that it came out, and I've just revisited that. And I'm rewriting it right now. And one of the things that I worked on this morning was redefining the values that I had at a certain part of my life. And then understanding why they're not my values now and what my values are currently moving forward. And I have redefined so much, as I know you have. And how liberating it is to be able to look at something or a time period in your life and go, I actually don't want that.
Right.
I don't want that. I want to reprogram it, redefine it, and this is actually what I want, and this is what I believe, and I'm going to go that way with it. How liberating and how amazing. I mean, there were a lot of things that served me when I was in Tallahassee, but man, there were a lot of things that didn't.
But knowing too, and having the self-awareness to know you did the best you could.
Totally.
With what you had.
100%.
And that, I think, is huge within this growth journey. Whether it's reflecting on, childhood stuff or adolescent stuff, like people surrounding you. I'm one of those people that truly like to believe that we're a product of our everything, right? Environment and conditioning and all of the things. And we're really doing the best we can with the tools we have.
Yeah.
And then it gives you that level of compassion of, wow, I didn't have very many tools. And that's okay. I have much more tools in my toolbox. And my toolbox is wide open. I'm accepting all the tools, all the things, all the little nits and bolts and hammers and screws and, circular saws, whatever.
Yes, everything.
But having that awareness, and I think that that's something coming from, even talking about like past traumas or situations like that, knowing what really matters is that you were open to gaining more tools.
Yeah.
And really, it really boils down to that, being open to receive, to reevaluate, having the curiosity to change things up when it doesn't quite feel right.
And then when you have that tool, though, using it.
Right. You can't just push it in the back of the toolbox for later.
You can't.
You can't
just let it.
But it's not, you're not going to go forward.
Right. So it's when you get those tools, when you know better, do better.
Well, like we said, you can do all the workshops, you can listen to all the podcasts, you can do all the meditation classes. But if you're in yoga and breath work and you're thinking about your grocery list or what you're doing next, or you're not submersed. I mean, we've all been there. Don't get me wrong. It depends on the day. That's why we're doing it. If you're in breath work and you're in the class for 4 seconds, it's better than you were before you walked in. But you know what I mean?
Yes.
Like it's surrounding yourself with, and knowing it takes practice. You can't just, it's like, you don't go out for your first run and run 26.2 miles. Like that's not the way it works.
Right.
You have to build these skills and it's a building block, and it's setting the foundation for something greater to give you those tools to show up for yourself in whatever way it is you desire. And I've never met someone that's like, I'm going to show up for myself shitty today. Like no one thinks that way.
No, I wouldn't think so.
I would hope not.
Yeah. And also stretching too.
Yeah.
Stretching beyond your borders.
Right.
And that's been a big thing for me always is right when I feel like I go, I like to go, and relax for a minute, but I'm also going, well, wait a minute. This is way comfortable. And I've it's not that I always need to be stretching myself, but I do always want to be learning and growing. And I want to know that I can be a little bit better today than I was yesterday. I can show up a little bit differently today than I was yesterday.
Right.
And so that has been a big thing for me is to keep learning and keep stretching beyond my borders.
Right.
Sometimes I'm like, okay,
Right.
just stop.
Yeah.
I don't need any more help. I don't need any more lessons today.
Right.
I want a timeout, hit the pause button, back the fuck up.
And that's okay too.
And that's okay too.
Mhm.
But it is fun. Now I think we talked about this last time too. It's like, now it's like, come on.
Bring it on.
Just bring it on.
Well, and it sounds like you're getting a lot brought on.
Oh my
So-
gosh. Careful what you wish for.
Well, and that's just it. Where you set your intentions, you're opening doors and you're allowing things to flow. So again, be prepared and open to receive. Whether it's, receiving that I need to reevaluate, I need to rediscover, I need to, maybe it's not what I want after all. And that's okay too. You might think you want something big and grand, but then sometimes it's like, well, maybe I want to be somewhere in the middle. I don't quite want to be here, but that's too much. Like I've had to do this for myself. It's, you're creating a business and creating this podcast and all these other things going on. That means I've had to shift and reevaluate other things in my life that were once way more up here. And now they're a little bit more right here. Because guess what? Like we have a kid going to college and now family's rising for me, which is interesting because I'm in a 6th year. So like that intentional time, knowing it goes by really fast and other things are just kind of, I'm balancing the other shifts, but making sure I spend that intentional time. Like even March, I took the whole month off of podcasting and stuff because I needed the time and the space in my mind, in my body, in my spirit. I had a lot of external events, a lot of kid stuff going on. I knew that if I came in here to film, I wouldn't have showed up the way I needed and wanted to, not with the intention that I had when I started this.
Right.
So guess what? Taking a break. Who cared? I didn't. You guys didn't. Like, hello, I'm back. It's really, at the end of the day, it's not a big deal.
No.
I could have, and probably in previous lives of my own, would have been like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm failing this, or it's going to lose.
Right.
I don't care. I mean, I think another joy of that is I don't ever look at like my views or likes or, whatever. I'm not doing it for that.
Right.
So it's just different for me, which nothing wrong if you do, but I just don't have the capacity for all that. But knowing that I had to shift and I had to reevaluate. And that's the way I showed up for myself in a way. And guess what? I felt super fulfilled. And I'm, filming at least once a week, releasing every other. And so it's just a small example of ways you can shift and pivot when you feel like you need to recalibrate. And I think that that's really, along with redefining, is recalibrating.
Yeah, totally.
You get your tires changed. What's the first thing they do? They like rotate them. They make sure they're in alignment.
Right.
So you can't bring all this new stuff in without realigning yourself and taking, I mean, you can, but it's a shit show waiting to happen. Like,
don't recommend it.
Don't recommend it. Done it? Don't recommend it. And sometimes, you're in your flow and things keep coming and coming and coming. And next thing you know, you're like, oh my God, I have the flu. Well, did you take time to reevaluate? Because whether you like it or not, the universe will set you free with it.
Yes, it will.
It will force you into what you need, whether that's rest, whether that's, revamping, recalibration.
Yeah. Slow down to speed up.
Right.
Sometimes you have to.
Right.
You got to hit the brakes for just a minute.
Yeah.
Or just pump them.
Yeah. For example, like you knew it because you know me. I had a podcast I filmed before this. It's like you need some sunshine.
Yeah.
Yes, I do. I'm going to go change my jacket and I'm going outside and I'm going to sit and let the sun soak in my being and take a few breaths. And I'm recalibrating because it's a completely different topic. It's a completely different energy, completely different person. We need that permission to do that for ourselves because there's so many times we go through life and we don't take that pause. And what happens? We dump one thing into the other and then we end up, if you mix primary colors, you get all these beautiful colors. But if you mix them all together, you get a pile of shit, color brown. Like it's a perfect example. If you mix too many things together, it's going to look like shit and feel like shit.
You're so right. Yeah. Yeah,
Just
nobody
kidding.
wants shit brown.
No one wants shit brown.
For a life.
I mean, and I like a good neutral, but it's not what we're talking about here.
There was a woman not too long ago, and you know who I'm talking about. That to that point, to like sometimes you have to slow down to speed up, and sometimes you need to get shaken up
Mm-hmm.
to explode.
Mm-hmm.
You know, sometimes you need a good shake.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's what's happening to me right now, is
Mm-hmm.
I'm getting a little bit of a shake. But there's a woman, a mutual friend of ours, that needed a little bit of shake up in her business.
Mm-hmm.
And she needed to let go of some old attachments. She needed to redefine what she wanted her business to look like.
Mm-hmm.
She needed to know where she was going.
Mm-hmm.
She needed to understand what in the hell she wanted.
Mm-hmm.
She
And
needed to
why?
know how she wanted to show up. If
Mm-hmm.
this is the name of the business, does it fit where she wants it to be? You know who I'm
Mm-hmm.
talking about. And ironically, not ironically, but intentionally, that she did all of those things, and she and I shook her up a
Mm-hmm.
lot. And now it looks like she's coming out of it
Yeah.
with a brand new business plan.
Mm-hmm.
She knows, she's got a much better idea of where she's going.
Mm-hmm.
So I like that yin to the yang, that
It's
sometimes you have to slow
perfect.
down, and
Right.
sometimes you need something, you need that shake up in your life
Mm-hmm.
so that you can go. And
Right.
I think that's such a beautiful, it's a beautiful synergy.
And it's the perfect example of what we're talking about,
Right.
because sometimes, and I'm one of these people, I have the creative, fun, doing, impulsive side of me that just
Yeah.
like, I'm going to do all of this. Then I need someone like Jen to help me reel in the logistics,
Right.
you know, like, because the organization detail part is not my strong suit.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I need to stay open to receive that guidance and that help and that, you know, the collaboration that comes along with creating
Yeah.
and building something, especially from the ground up.
Mm-hmm.
And there's beauty in that. And again, it goes back to being open to receive it, because she didn't have to switch things up. She didn't have to listen to
No,
you.
you're right.
But we, you know, to be in a place where you're open to receive it speaks volumes,
Mm-hmm.
and trusting the process, and not
Mm-hmm.
like, well, this isn't what I set my expectation. This is what I wanted. Well, it's okay. You might get something beautiful
Right.
out of something you don't want at all.
Right. Yeah.
Like you never knew it was supposed to happen that way. And that's okay. And I think that's where it comes the greatest reward, in those surprising moments. And
Mhm.
well, guess what? Look at it this way.
It's so funny too, because she said, well, I can't do this. Like, I don't know that I can afford to do this. And I don't know that I'm going to be able to, continue doing this with you. And I'm like, honey, it's taken care of.
Mm-hmm.
You've got two people who are going to
Mm-hmm.
look after you right now through this process, who just love you and who want you to be okay.
It's going to make me cry.
I know. And then in that moment, like you're saying, being open to receive, she had, in that split second moment when I was talking to her, she wanted to push back a little bit. And then she just said, okay, I'll
Right.
take it. I'll take it.
And
And I'll
beautiful things are
trust.
coming.
Yeah. And she gave me a hug, and
Well, you did give the best hugs.
we have
Jen gives-
conversations.
Jen gives the best hugs.
and now there's beautiful things happening with her.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is such a wonderful example
Mm-hmm.
of bringing all of this together,
Mm-hmm.
and all of those skill sets work synergistically together.
100%.
They work in unison, and sometimes you're going really fast. Sometimes you have to slow down. Sometimes you have to fall over. It's pinging back to the beginning, is what are you going to do
Mm-hmm.
about every single one of those scenarios when it comes up?
Right.
What are you going to do when you fall down? What are you going to do when you go, I just need to rest. I need to stop for a minute. Are you going to listen?
Right.
Are you going to ask for help? Are you going to ask the questions that you need to help? I mean, to get the help? Are you going to be open to receive the help when it comes knocking on your door?
Mm-hmm. And I truly believe that we will be willing to accept it when it's supposed to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes, I mean, we live in the world where advice is everywhere, right?
Mm-hmm.
We absorb stuff from all over the place, which is too much. So it's when something is supposed to be in alignment,
Mm-hmm.
trusting the feeling, like the internal feeling, not the external validation stuff like we were talking about earlier.
Right.
The internal feeling
Mm-hmm.
of like, does this feel right? And our particular friend knew that this felt right. She just had to really go through some self-discovery phase of, okay, well, maybe it needs to shift from this to this for now. And maybe it could shift into something else.
Right.
But being open to receive and not being stuck into, the like expectation part of it.
Right.
Speaks volumes.
Right.
And
I am so proud of her, by
oh
the
my
way.
God, me too. And if we were to leave our guests with a cliffhanger of self-discovery today, what would it be?
Don't slip into what the comfort was. Keep pushing through. Keep pushing through the uncomfortable feelings, but don't go back to what was comfortable.
Right.
Don't go back to a time where this felt safe, this felt comfortable. Like the things that you don't know, the things that you don't understand, the behaviors you're not clear on.
I'm not worthy.
I'm not worthy. Like, don't go back into that level of comfort. Go forward, push through it. Keep going to figure out who you are and figure out what you want and ask for help.
Be open to receive.
Be open to receive the help and then do what it takes to keep going and to make things happen.
And create community around that.
100%. We have so many wonderful people in our community.
Right. I
So
mean,
many.
There's so much coaching. There's so much, out there to help you. If you are stuck in a rut, I mean, comment on this and I'm happy to help provide you the resources that I feel might work for your situation. I mean, that's the whole point of this. I'm not doing all this for my own coaching clients. Love you all. I don't have the space and time to coach everyone one-on-one, but I love to provide some resources.
Right.
Because that's what community is.
It is.
And everything's different. Like what serves me this week is going to be different than next week and was different than last week.
Yeah, it's going to be
Like I
different
might need
next
a little
year.
bit more of something this week than next week I might need something totally different. So being open and just having that self-awareness and making time to go inward to truly discover what that is. Like just take a few moments for yourself. It could be on the freaking toilet, which we all do every day. So there's no excuse not to do this. Just take a minute, take a breath, and just go inward, self-reflect. What is it I need? Where do I need to be going? What feels right for me today?
100%. I agree.
I love you.
I
It's
love
always a
you.
pleasure. I don't know why it always goes by so fast when
It
you're on
does
my
go
podcast.
fast.
Like holy shit.
God.
We just need to
I know.
we're gonna have a whole series with Jen, okay?
Yeah.
But thank you again for
Thank
being
you.
here. She'll definitely be back. I feel like we need to do like a 4-lady round table, which could probably get a little loud and crazy. We'll probably have to block off a couple hours for that.
We're doing it.
We're doing it. Thank you again, Jen.
Thanks.
Jen Smith Co. or jensmith.co.
Yes.
Yeah.
jensmith.com.
If you are in the business leadership, development, coaching, retreats, all the things.
Yeah.
So thanks again.
Thank
Love
you.
you.
Love you.
That's a wrap.